got the full grasp of this thing. We just know how it functions in a certain way. Even the doctors, even the scientists, they are groping. They're still grappling with this problem of how this body functions and how this mind works. And there are a lot of theories which comes. We are getting more and more understanding of this thing by studying it, by how it functions. And there's been a lot of research on trying to find out how we can take this, the body and the mind to perform better and better. And it is proved that in the last, say, 50 years, it has gone up phenomenally well. In 2020, the top athletes in the world are definitely way better than the athletes who were there 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. And the reason, or the whole credit has to go to the scientific research that has been done, and people using this research in their methodology of teaching. So this research has been done in several fields, not just in tennis. And a lot of countries have adapted these systems for different sport. And that's exactly what we've also done for tennis. And today we're going to have a look at what are these aspects. And the goal is not, see, this is a very vast subject. This is like overloaded with information, because you're talking from beginner level all the way to elite level. So in every stage, you have so much of information. But this presentation is about trying to give you an overview, trying to talk about the important aspects there, and the role of a coach, because the main aspect here, we are talking to coaches here, and then what is your role in this whole thing? Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. So the first thing that we need to do when you're talking about going someplace, the first thing we need to do is set the goal. We got to know what our goal is. So there are two things that comes to my mind when it's a goal for a tennis coach. When a player walks in, this is what I tell all my candidates when they come for the courses. Whenever a player walks into your court to play tennis, whether it's a beginner or someone a little more advanced, your goal is to ensure that the player sticks to the game for the rest of their life. Why is this important? We all know tennis is an amazing sport. All you have to do is go and Google the benefits of tennis, and then you'll get a whole lot of information about why tennis is superior to several other sports in terms of health, not just physical health, also mental health. So we are doing a great deal of positive things to people who are coming in, and then helping them to stay in the sport for the rest of their life. We're giving them health, and we're also giving them joy and happiness that they can enjoy for the rest of their life. So that will be the first goal. And apart from this, you can have one more goal, which is you want to produce top level players. So I see these two as the goals. And no matter what your goal is, either this or that, what you do in the initial stages is not different. You do the same things. Only as you go further, when the player makes a commitment, then things change. Because tennis is a late specialization sport. You have early specialization sport and late specialization sport. For example, you have something like diving or gymnastics. In this, players specialize when they're 5 or 6 years old, and then they could go on practicing it for the next 10 years, maybe, to reach elite levels. Whereas tennis is a late specialization sport, and you specialize in only after the age of 10. So till 10, whatever you do is going to be common for both. Whether you're helping players to stay in the sport for the rest of their lives, or you're trying to produce a champion, what you do till the kid is 10 years old is not very different. You got to do the same thing. Why is it so? Because in the initial stages, up to the age of 10, if they're not specialized in tennis, if they're going to specialize only after 10, that means all the physical aspects that they should have developed to excel in any other sport should have been developed, right? So that's the reason why. And also, scientifically, it really doesn't change. There's only very few things that you need to adapt here and there towards these goals. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some important aspects that are, that will throw light into the whole subject of, the journey from beginner to elite level. And then I'm going to take you through the different stages that the player will be going through, and what are the things that the player needs to do in each stage for him to, reach those elite levels. And there are tenets prescribed by the scientific community on what are the aspects that are important in each stage. And we're going to adapt those things. And I'm going to give you an overview. The goal is not to overload you with information, but to try to give you a bird's eye view so that you have some clarity on what are the things and what are your responsibilities. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that we have to do is understand what our goal is, and that is if you say that you want to produce a top level player, okay, at the elite level. Now, you need to take at least 10 years. It will take about 8 to 10 years to reach these levels. Yeah, which is uh, you must have heard about this: 10 years or 10,000 hours. So that is the uh, I don't remember the name of the scientists who prescribed this, Bali and somebody, I don't remember, I'm sorry. But they prescribed this in the year 2006, and it has been a mantra which is going around in all the fields. What does this mean? 10 years, 10,000 hours to reach elite levels in any field, be it music, be it sports, be it any field. What it means is that it takes at least that much time to reach elite levels. It does not mean that all you have to do is put 10,000 hours and you reach elite levels. No, that is not true. So what you do in these 10,000 hours matters a lot. Okay. And what they say is you need to have a certain amount of time, which is for pure play. And then you have something called deliberate practice. Now, what is deliberate practice? Uh, Deliberate practice is something that you take specifically to work on your game. Uh, the things that you need to take into account here are: one, you have to work on your fundamentals over and over again. Yes. And then you also have to work on specific aspects in your game that will make you improve. Like, for example, if I want to improve my serve, I would say, okay, I need to improve my wide angle serve. And then I get this information that I need to use this spin, which will make the ball swing away from the opponent. And I start to practice it. And while I'm practicing it, I have very specific goals of, okay, I need to get this much percentage, and then I keep practicing it like 60, 100 serves a day. And this is an example for deliberate practice. And this is something that you have to repeat over and over again. Repetition, repetition, repetition. That is the answer for developing any skill to a very high level. Another thing that you have to understand about this practice is you need to constantly be ready to step outside your comfort zone. So what do you mean by comfort zone? If you take a tennis player, for example, one player could be saying that you could say that this player works really hard. Okay, works hard in what sense? Does he work hard in the physical aspect? There are players who are willing to put in a lot of effort in the physical aspect and very fit athletes, but they won't be willing to make any changes to their game in the technical part, maybe, or maybe not willing to adapt their style to the changing, the body and the conditions, or towards the level that you're going to play in. Or they could not, they could be doing all this, but they might not be ready to do anything mentally. Okay, so what is this, stepping outside the comfort zone? You can't just stay in the comfort zone no matter which aspect you're taking, and you should be willing to, you should be having an open mind and willing to step outside this comfort zone. Only then you're challenging yourself, and only when you challenge, improvement happens. Okay. And then when you're doing this, you need feedback, which is very crucial. And the feedback needs, the player needs to understand this. The player needs to understand where they are in the process. And they're also important that they need to look at it as a process, because it is a process. If you understand it as a process, and if you look at every aspect, then it is easy for you to deal with success and failure. And this is a very important aspect. As people go up, you've got to know how to take success with failure. Okay, so the key to that, how do you answer that, how do you achieve this, is by having a long-term plan. So today also somebody asked a question, why do Indian players, they're playing very well, and then when they're 16, 17, they quit, and then we saw that they're very talented players. Yes, the answer is, from the start, or at least when they started to specialize in tennis, you should have kept the goal as being an elite player. Okay, people don't see that, and you have to constantly keep revisiting this goal. Keep telling yourself your goal is to be a top player in the world, or you want to be a top 100 in the world, or something like that. Now the problem here is, why is it difficult for people to do this? It is because of the people around the player. It is not just the player, especially when the player is 11 or 12 years old. The whole world is open for them. There is no question about them believing that they can achieve this or not. They whatever you tell them, the significant others, they would believe that. Okay, and if you have limiting beliefs, if you feel that getting to the top or making a top 100 is a task which is too difficult, and it is not that easy for people to make, and you don't think it is possible for this kid to make, then you're going to transfer this conditioning to that player. And when you do that, they stop believing. These are what we call limiting beliefs. When they stop believing, they're only looking at the immediate. They're only looking at the national ranking, beating the player who's next to them, and things like that. And it's very difficult to progress beyond. Yeah. So, and one more skill that I would like to reiterate right now is that top players differ, or if you look at why the top players are at the top, and what is the difference between them and the rest. Of course, they've gone through all the developmental stages and everything. But one skill, which in my opinion is very different, is the visualization skill. The ability to go into the future and create your own reality. The ability to visualize something vividly, as if it is real. There is not much difference between visualization and reality. If you can visualize that vividly, the difference is not much. And the good part is, all of us have the capacity to visualize. As human beings, we have the ability to visualize. We can picture things. We can imagine things. But is this imagination in your control, or is it being controlled by your own limiting thoughts and beliefs? So that is the question.
Sorry, just to cut you off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Yeah. When you talk about visualization, okay, are you talking about visualizing the positive things, or
can you
visualize? Are you talking about visualizing positive things, or staying in the break?
No, it is not just about visualizing when you're playing a match. I'm talking about visualization in every process of playing. Like if I have to demonstrate to a player how a forehand looks like, okay? The player creates a mental image of what the stroke is, and then they play, right? They're trying to recreate it. And what they recreate comes from this image, not from what you actually showed them. Okay, and what they see is blinded by their own perceptions of what they saw. Unless you direct them to a particular aspect, and if the information is not gone, yeah.
You think the videos, taking out videos will help, right? Taking their videos out for the sporting, yeah, that's right. Their own videos.
Yeah, you're giving them a perspective of how they are doing it for themselves. But when you take the video away, what they're left with is the mental imagery. Okay, and this image, this image is so important. Like, it is not just about technique; it's about how they see themselves as a player. You know what I mean? And it also goes into saying that if I have to play a match tomorrow, I can go into the match today and play that match and come back. if I have the capability to visualize.
Okay.
Yeah? I could go there and then create the entire playing scenario, the serving, the returning, the moving, the winning, everything, and then create that reality for myself. And then I have experienced it. What do I gain from it? I gain confidence. I gain clarity. You know what I mean? The
Okay.
visualization is something
Right.
that works on every aspect of the mental part. Motivation,
Okay.
emotional control, uh, confidence, concentration, everything. So that's the reason why visualization is such a crucial part in every player's development. Okay, so let's go. Also, we also need to talk about the team. We are not in this alone. Who's the most important person in this whole thing? It is the player. Now, I want you to type out in the screen, in the chat screen, on who do you think is the second most important person in the player's career? Can you type it out? Coach, parent. Okay, it's divided, right? So there is a divided opinion about if it is a coach or if it's a parent. I would say it is a parent. To simply put it, to make it very, very simple, the kids spend a lot more time with the parents than with the coach. We spend during the formative years, we spend an hour or two, and then when they specialize, we might spend a few more hours, but still the kids go back to the parents and they spend a lot more time. So they are the most important. And as you can see, there are several aspects that goes in. You'll understand the importance of the role of a parent. Right? Also, unless the parent brings the kid to you, you don't have the kid. Yeah. Okay. So you have the player, you have the parent. I would say the next one is the coach, and then the trainer. Then you also have the other people in the team, like you have the nutritionist, you have the physio, you have the doctor. You can even include, stringers and the entire team. Yeah. So why I'm talking about the team is, it is not one person's effort. So if a team is going to put in this effort towards the development of the player, it is so important that every member of this team is in the same page. What it means is, a lot of times the problem happens when the parent wants something, the coach wants something, and the player wants something else. And there's a complete, disarray of things, and it's going to, what's going to happen, the result of this. Okay. So the question that somebody asked today, why are people stopping at 15, 16? One of the reasons is that the parents have a different, agenda for the player. I mean, the parent. So unless the coach has a chat with the parent on a regular basis, understand what they want, and the parents also have to understand this to a large extent, because a lot of parents, we know, they want the best out of the coach, and then they sometimes deceive the coach, telling them that they want the player to be a top performer. But what the parent actually wants is, they want the best from everything. They want the kid to be number one in studies, they want the kid to be number one sports, they want them to be best at everything. And then what happens at a certain stage, they already have in their mind that the kid is going to go into IIT, the kid is going to become a doctor or something like that. And these things don't, tennis and that doesn't go well at all, because you have to spend a certain amount of time on the tennis court to be able to get to the elite level. Now, if you take the kid out when they are in 10th standard or in their 12th standard, and then bring them back for training, you lost crucial time there. Crucial times of development. These are very crucial times of development. And it is not possible for, a player to stay away during this time and then come back and still try to get to elite levels. It's very, very, very difficult. A lot of parents make this mistake. And that's where I feel, it falls down. They tell themselves, or the teachers put pressure on the parents, telling them, hey, listen, 10th is important. Let the kid finish 10th, score good marks, and then let him play. After that, you have the entire life to play. And then 12th comes. 12th, they say the same thing. Let the kid study, and Yeah, let the kid study, let him finish the 12th standard, and then you have the entire life to play tennis. What's stopping you? But what they don't understand is that's not how it works. It is a constant effort, and most important thing is these are very crucial periods where the player needs to make certain jumps. And if if you, the question that I ask parents in this aspect is that, what is your goal? Can you make whatever you want 2 3 years ahead? If you say the kid needs to do play in study in IIT, or they have to do medicine or some professional course, then you tell the parent very clearly that these two don't go well together. Let him come and play. He can play for an hour or two or whatever he wants, but let us not look at competitive performance. Okay, because if when we talk to the kid, we are talking about performance at the high level. It's the job of our coach not to limit the player, to give him goals which are challenging. And you're going to make that impossible. What is going to happen to the kid? He's going to be very disappointed. And a lot of kids have a lot of difficulty in dealing with this. The coach motivates the kid to work towards a higher goal, and the parent takes them out, and the kid is having a lot of difficulty in dealing with this fact that they are not able to pursue what they wanted to. And so the parents have to be careful about that, and then they have to communicate to the coach so that the coach does not interfere with this decision process. They will allow the kid to be whatever they want. But at the same time, if the parent feels that the kid needs to perform at a very high level and they want the coach to put in the effort, they have to be forthcoming, say that, and then also understand that you can't expect the kid to score, a topper in the state or something and also do well in tennis. That's not happening, because it's sheer the amount of time that you need to put in. Having said that, yeah, having said that, it is also a fact that when tennis players are playing, performing at a good level, they also score very high marks. I don't know how it happens. They spend very little time studying compared to their peers, but they still score very high marks. It's probably got to do with the analytical abilities or the concentration abilities or the sheer drive to excel in something. I don't know what tennis teaches them, but it definitely helps them score high marks. There is no need for them to take away from tennis to do this. Yeah. All right. So let's come back to the goal. Yeah. So the goal for us is to produce a player at the top level, at the elite level. Let us look at this as the goal for the session. Okay. If this is the goal, then what are the skills that we want the player to have? We want the player to be an athlete, a super world class athlete, when he is 20 or 21. Because if you're not a great athlete with specific skills, which helps in tennis, he's not going to perform at the highest level. Those will be limiting factors. So you need to have a player who's very quick on the court, very agile, who's strong and powerful, who's very, whose mobility is very high, to avoid injuries, and can also last for a long time with high intensity activity. What tennis demands. So we need to have a player like this, with this kind of physical abilities. If that is the case, then we need 10 years at least to develop these skills. It doesn't come in a hurry. It just doesn't happen in 6 months or 1 year. Some people ask me, can I start at 15 and perform, at the elite levels? Yes, you can, but what have you been doing till 15? Have you been working on the physical aspects you should have worked on till now? Because there are certain windows of opportunities you should have utilized till this time. If not, it is going, people use this thing like nothing is impossible, statements like that. But you have to be realistic at the end of the day. Okay. You can start at 20, you want to play in the ATP. You know the answer. I don't have to answer it. Okay. So, that is the physical part. Then we have the technical part. What is that we want the player to have in the technical aspect? We want a player with the biomechanically very efficient strokes, something that is injury free. The player is able to use all the the linear and the angular momentums, and the opposite force and balanced and all the aspects that goes into making a stroke a world-class stroke. Okay. To simply put, the player can play the stroke efficiently with power and control in all the strokes, and also avoid injuries. The technique should not lead to injuries. Yeah. And the third one is the tactical. The tactical, we have to understand in today's tennis, this was almost 20 years ago when I attended a worldwide coaches workshop. There was this coach called Richard Schonborn. He was Boris Becker's and Steffi Graf's coach. Yeah. So he was giving a presentation, and it was an amazing presentation. And he was talking about his experiences with the players and things like that. And one of the things that he was talking about is how tennis is going to be played 10 years from now. Now, he was not looking at how his tennis is played at that point of time. He was looking into the future to see how tennis has been progressing and where does he see this going. And then whatever he spoke that day about players being closer to the baseline, there'll be lesser serve and volleys, and all these things is true today. And it's important that we do research on how tennis will be 10 years from now, and then start preparing our players towards that goal, not towards the goal of how players are playing at this point of time. Yeah. So that's about tactics. And regarding the psychological aspect, yeah, this is a subject that when we talk about, immediately everybody thinks that psychology is a subject that is, that coaches can't deal with it, that the player needs to have this, that, and the word psychology itself is kind of, makes you feel that it is too complex, and we need to maybe some of them think that they need to go through a college degree of psychology to work on the aspects. But I want to demystify this. I want you to understand that every one of you as a coach, you're already working on a lot of mental aspects in your session. I don't know if you know this. If you're working with beginners, you're maintaining discipline, are you not? You're ensuring that the players are friendly with each other, and they're developing these qualities of socialism. Yes. So when the player hits a good shot, you're going to say, hey, come on, that's great shot, very good, and you're going to give a high five or something like that. Yes. See, when the player is not focused, when the player is not looking at the ball, you're going to probably try and get their attention towards the ball by showing something that is in the ball, or showing different colored balls, or whatever. You might be doing something to get their attention towards the ball. You're working on concentration. So when you give them a high five, you're working on their confidence, their motivation. So it is not a very complex thing. And psychology is something that you can easily develop in the players. It's actually easier than the other aspects if you do only two things. One, you have to see how you communicate to the players. When I say communication, Balu gave this presentation the other day. You had a lot more information. I'm going to just state in one sentence. When you communicate, all you need to do is make sure that you understand the player, understand the situation, and communicate accordingly. And when you communicate, also check how much of positive you're using, how much of negative you're using. Okay. Now, there's research that tells us that one negative is equal to 5 positives. Okay. And this is the reason why they say you need to have 5 positives in a marriage for it to work against one negative. So you have to ensure that when you're talking, you're using 5 positives to 1 negative. Okay. And the second thing is you have to create an atmosphere where the psychological aspects develops. Now you might ask, how do you create this atmosphere? Now we'll go into that and you'll understand it is not a difficult thing at all. It's a very simple thing, and most of it is something that you're doing already. Okay. You just probably have to refine it. You just have to be more aware of it so that you get better and better at it. And that's it. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll go into the different stages of development, and then we'll run through what are the aspects that are important that you need to develop in each aspect. So the first stage, I would say, is the pre-tennis stage. From the time the child is born till they're 5 years old, Now you might wonder, what can they do in this time? Oh, they are doing so many things. They are working on their fundamental movement skills. Okay, walking, running, throwing. Like Sanya was saying yesterday, that the kid likes to throw things. He's working on something. The important thing is to allow them to do it, not be scared that they're going to hurt themselves or this, and stop them from doing it. And two, the parent needs to be with them and spend this time with them to ensure that they are doing this physical activity on a daily basis. Every day, there has to be some time dedicated by the parents for the children to play with them. So when I travel to Europe, this is one thing that I always see, which I don't see much in India. I'm sure it is happening in different places, but it's not a common sight. In France, if you go to any city, there'll be a lot of parks. And then when you go to the park, especially in the weekends, in the evenings, you see a lot of families around, a lot of children, mainly children, okay, with the parents. And these children will be running and playing and jumping, and the parents will be sitting down on having a picnic, and then they'll be just having a look at the kid now and then. Just imagining that having in our country. You're going to keep the kid right next to you because you're scared somebody's going to steal him away. Yeah. And what is happening there? Another thing is that the father or the mother will be running and doing catching, or doing some fun activities. Or as they get older, when they are 3, 4, 5, the kids will be playing football with the parents. And amazing skills. Once when I traveled with the Asian team to Europe, we had some good athletes. We had 2 boys from India, and then we had from Thailand, and then we had from Philippines, and all good athletes. And this was an under 14 team. So the players were like 13 years old. And we were in this place called Brussels in Belgium. And they had an indoor space where kids were playing football. Some 5 or 6 kids were playing football. And they were all like under 10, small kids. And I was also a fit player then. I was playing tennis, and I was quite fit at that point of time. At least I thought I was fit. So these kids came and asked us, "Do you want to have a match?" And I was laughing, and I said, let's mix and play because you guys are too small." And those guys, it was an offense for them. They said, no, we against you. So we had 3 of my players, myself and 1 girl, and then against 5 of their players. And I was totally ashamed at the end of thing, because these kids just demolished us. Under 10, the kind of skills that they were showing. And I don't think, people might immediately say that it's because of the race. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with what the kid has gone through over those developmental years. Okay, there's this person called Bruce Elliott. I don't know if you heard of him. He's a doctor. He's a stem cell research scientist. And then this is something that he always talks about. He talks about how the stem cells, when you put them in the same medium, it comes out as the same cells. But you put them in different mediums with small changes, the stem cells have different qualities. Now he says that we people, we are the medium, and then from when you're born till 7, we are conditioned to act in certain ways, because kids, when they're till 7, they are kind of in a hypnotic state when they're learning. And after that, it's more about repetition. But till 7, it's more like, that's the reason why they're able to learn language and other things so quickly. So he says that the kids till 7, whatever experience that they've gone through is so important for them to develop into the adults that you'll want them to be, as in the qualities that you'll want them to have. So all these kids, they were able to perform like that because of the activity that they've gone through, not because of some innate skill. This is my opinion, of course. So there are fundamental movement skills that needs to develop, like what you need to look at is like jumping, running, walking, catching, throwing, and also some balance activities like reaching and twisting and turning and things like that. Yeah. So these fundamental skills are aspects that has to be worked throughout a person's career. It is not something that you do only at that up to 5 years old. It is something that stays till the player is an elite player. And even when he's an elite player, you still work on fundamental skills. And also strength is something that you work on every stage. It was believed earlier that when peak height velocity sets in, so that's what I was talking about. There is so much of information here. It's difficult to, peak height velocity is when a kid goes through puberty, they show this sudden spurt in height. Okay, that height is what they call peak height velocity, like how fast they are growing. And they take this into consideration for two aspects mainly. One is strength, another one is endurance. So before peak height velocity sets in, the player is there is a window of opportunity for us to develop endurance in the player. What does this window of opportunity means? What it means is that during the developmental stage, there are several stages in the player's developmental stage that you have these windows. Like for example, for speed, you have from 5 to 7, and then from 11 to 13 for girls. If you work on speed during this time, they'll adapt to speed and they become very quick. Okay. Now you might ask the question, what if you don't do speed at that time? Can't we do it later and improve? Yes, you can. Of course, you can improve, but you will never reach the level you could have reached if you'd done speed during that stage. That is the key. That is what it means by this window of opportunity. So earlier it was believed that strength has to be worked. The window of opportunity for strength is after peak height velocity, 1 year or 1.5 years after peak height velocity stops. But the new research tells us that strength is one of the fundamental factors. It has influence on power, speed, agility, and endurance as well. This is what they found out. So speed has to start from a very early age. Now you might ask me the question, how do you work on speed on a strength on a 3-4-year-old kid? Well, it is very simple. You can do pushing, pulling. You can do pushing an object from one place to another, which is the kids are doing anyway. You just need to find a way to challenge them more and more in the right way, and that's how you work on it. And also the other aspects of power, speed, and agility and other things, how do you work on it till the age of 10? If you're done the play and stay course, you should know this. Can anybody answer that? How do you work on these fitness aspects till the age of 10? Can I see the messages? Motor skills, buddying, yeah. Recreation, okay. Through games, yes, through games. By playing fun games, fun activities, exactly. Yeah. So phenomenal answers, yes. So you need to develop all these aspects by creating an environment where the aspect develops. So if you're talking about developing speed, you'll say something like running and catching. If you're talking about balance, you'll say hopping and catching. If you want to add something like power, you'll say throw the ball, something like that. So there'll be a game that you can organize with throwing. Okay. So basically you design a fun game around this. So when you do the level 4 course, especially, we go through this thing, like how to create this fun environment for kids to develop the fitness aspects. Yeah. Rolling the ball on the ground with the racket, would you call it tennis? I would say yes, because he has a racket and he has the ball. So basically what I'm trying to say is, it is so important that the kid needs to develop these skills before they actually try to develop the tennis skills. Why? Because strength plus fundamental movement skills, you have controlled movement. If you don't have controlled movement, the kid is not going to be able to perform the task you ask him to perform. If they don't perform the task successfully in their first experience, what is going to happen? The kid is going to lose interest. They're going to look at tennis as something that they can't do. They don't have confidence. So the first experience for the kid is so important. And it's so important that they have done the physical development before you start them off into the actual developing tennis skills part. Yeah. So when they come to tennis, we're going to let them develop. I'm not going to go into the details of what are the things you do, because you do it in the play and stay course. But overall to say that you're going to ensure that the technique is somewhat it has a good preparation, it has good contact, it gives good follow through. You're not going to look too much about their positioning. You're not going to look at, you just want them to get the ball over, you just want them to serve the ball over or whatever, and then you're focusing on those aspects. And as they go higher up, as they get from red, if they are improved a bit, then you're going to start to get a little bit more into straightening out their technique in the orange stage, in the green stage. Yeah. So that's the thing. And then tactically also, that you in every situation, you try to teach them the tactic, like in the serving situation, returning while the baseline, you teach them how to be in consistency or moving the opponent and things like that. Things that you've done in the plain stay course. So we don't have to go into detail about that. Okay, but I want to definitely go into a little bit of detail about the psychological aspects. Okay. So I'm going to try and share the screen with you. And can you see the screen? Okay, let me read it out to you, and then you tell me how you can work on these aspects. Higher level of focus and engagement in training. Okay. Oh, sorry. Right here. Okay. So what are the psychological aspects you're going to work on in a kid who's 7 to 9 years old? So the first thing that you'll say is he enjoys competing, developing a competitive spirit, cooperating with practice partners, developing good practice habits, developing the ability to give best effort through a getting to every ball attitude, demonstrates determination to put every ball in the court, developing the ability to stay focused on the task, learning to maintain a positive image and attitude when playing. Okay, so all these aspects, if you had gone through, if you are listening, you will know that these are things that you're already doing or you can do. Yeah, there's nothing in it that is so complicated. All you do, you can just develop an atmosphere that each thing is happening. How do you develop a competitive spirit? Just make them play points. And when they play points, after they finish, if they win or lose, how are you going to react to them? How is your communication going to be? Are you going to say, oh, you lost, and you're going to discourage him? Or are you going to say, oh, it's okay, but let's do it next time? And then you're going to say, oh, that's very good. I like the way you did this. I like the way you did that, and things like that. So basically, with just your, ability to communicate and ability to create the atmosphere, you can develop all the psychological aspects that are required in each stage. Okay. Okay. So the next stage I would say is the intermediate stage. The intermediate stage is when the boys are from 8 to 11 and then from 9 to 12. The important aspects here, this is a very crucial stage for players to develop technique. Okay, the tennis specific skills. And this is the time that you start to make sure that there are no problems in the technique which will show up later on. You're not going to focus too much on their performance in tournaments. You're not going to try and be afraid that, oh, if I change this technique, will he become worse or things like that. No, you need to ensure that the kids are developing a good technique. Till this stage, you know that the kids could be taking tennis for their life, or they could be going towards a professional. It doesn't matter. You still have to work with them the same way. Okay. So the physical aspects. The top priority at this stage are coordination, speed and agility, strength and mobility. Right? And you should also focus on endurance and rehabilitation. So and very important thing here is you have the second window of opportunity to develop speed for girls. And it's very, very important that they do a lot of speed training. Now at this stage, it can be more structured. It doesn't have to be always in terms of fun games. Of course, you can have fun games, but you can also have more structured activities. The kids are getting a little bit more mature, and then they will accept structured activity. And then if they do this, if they understand that the game improves, they'll be willing to go through these things with full motivation. The most important thing is to develop a positive attitude towards fitness. How do you do that? By not making it negative. Like, you can't say that, oh, if you fight with this kid, I'll make you do 20 push-ups, or if you do this mistake, I'll make you run around the ground. So you're making it sound as if doing that is a punishment, and then the kids will perceive it that way. That's not a very good thing. You need to create a positive attitude towards fitness. Like I said, the onset of PHP, endurance is the key aspect here. Yeah. Okay, the psychological aspect. Again, if you go through this, you'll see that I'll give you a 10 seconds to go through this, and then you'll understand that most of it are things that you can create the atmosphere for the kid to develop. And if you feel that there is something that you cannot, then we can do it in the question answer session of how to do it. Just make a note of it. I don't know if you're able to see the screen. Manoj, are you there? Okay. So, the other aspects that are important intermediate level is like when the kids are 10 or 11, you have to have this kind of goal setting with them. You know, you need to sit and talk to them. Maybe it doesn't have to be even written down, but you definitely need to have a chat with them about what their goals are in terms of them. And then if you feel that the kid is showing the promise and they're showing the aptitude, if they're showing the motivation to work towards higher performance, you have to have a meeting with the parents, talk to them about it, because you can't take it for granted that the parents feel the same way the kid is feeling. No, you need to bring them there and then tell them that the kid is feeling that way, and then he wants to work towards being a professional. What do you think? Do you think this is an option for him? Things like that, and then take it forward. Okay. So the technical aspect, like I said, you're going to start to bring in the making sure that the technique does not have any major flaws. You're going to make sure that the grip is okay, that the hip is turning, they are getting the opposite force from the legs, and when they're serving, all the different aspects that goes into technique, you make sure that there are no flaws, major flaws in it. Okay. And this is the age to do that. And as far as tactical is concerned, this is the stage where you want them to play a lot of counter punching game. They are not strong enough to play a power game. They can't play aggressive and be successful at this stage. And also, if they try to be aggressive, it also creates a lot of confusion later on in terms of developing. Whereas when they start to play with the counter punching attitude, the willingness to work hard for every point, no matter how long the point goes, the ability to run and reach the balls, the ability to be patient and just focus on execution, not look for the end result. All these aspects, the ability to cover the court, these are such important aspects which are at the elite level. And by just getting them to use a counter-punching game at this time, you'll develop all these aspects. Like I said, just create the atmosphere and change one thing where the whole lot of things changes. If the kid is impatient, trying to win the point in one shot at this age, it is not a very good idea. Yeah. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't go for the shots, but the fundamental game should be of patience, willingness to rally, willingness to be consistent, willingness to run, cover the court, because so many skills develop when they do this at this age. And to introduce them to a power game at this age is not a good idea because they are not strong enough to do that yet. You're making them play on a full court with a heavy ball, normal rackets. It's not a good idea. It could also lead to injuries and stuff. Yeah, and in terms of competition, this is till under 10, the kids would have played a lot of competition within themselves. The other day, I saw a question about someone wanting national level under 10 competitions. It is not a very good idea to have, to expose the kids to that much of competition early on, because you're going to have a lot of, conditioning happening there. It is better to have them play within the courts, maybe with the neighboring, academies and things like that, but not really in open tournaments. Maybe they can, under 10 level, they can play like 3 or 4 in the whole year. But make sure that they don't get fixated with the result, because for them at that age, what happens becomes a huge impact in their head. Okay. Okay. The next thing is uh, uh, the amount of competition in the intermediate level. They can play a lot of under 12 tournaments, a few tournaments, maybe 3 or 4 the national level, and many at the state level will be a good idea. Okay. And how much of tennis they should be playing at this stage? They should be playing about 2 hours of tennis and 1 hour of fitness in the intermediate stage every day, 6 days a week. So the next stage will be the advanced junior stage. Now there is a difference between boys and girls. Even at the earlier stage, you had a difference between boys and girls by a year. Earlier, since they are physically more mature, they start to advance in the game earlier than boys. So they could be even better than boys at this stage. And they could be bigger and stronger also than boys at this stage. Now, one thing that I want to talk about at this stage is, a lot of coaches look at kids who are performing well at this stage and then start to focus on them a lot more. But the problem with that is the kids are performing maybe because they matured early. You have early maturers, you have late maturers. Okay? When the kids mature early, then the ability for them, the muscles are stronger, the ability to things is much higher. But when the kid is maturing late, doesn't mean they're lagging behind. You actually have more time to work on their fundamentals and make it even stronger. And as research tells us that early maturers or late maturers, there is no big difference as they go into the men's events. So make sure that you don't ignore the kids who are developing a little slower, maybe because of the maturity. So you need to give equal importance to everybody at this stage. And for boys, this is the second window of opportunity for speed. Very, very important. Speed is one of the key for performing at the elite levels, and you have to work on speed on court and off court as well. So at this stage, you have to push the kid towards a more aggressive style. And this is the stage they're starting to get a little stronger and taller, and they'll be able to accelerate the racket a little bit more. So this is the age you can start getting them to move into a more aggressive style. Now the kids have to move into a more and more biomechanically sound technique. Okay, this is the age that you really employ biomechanics and ensure that they are developing sound technique. As the kids develop, as they go higher up, their body is changing, they're becoming stronger, and the technique also evolves along with it. And as coaches, we need to go with them, and then we need to make those fixations then and there. Yeah. So the kids can play a lot of competition. They have to start playing more national level competition. The focus is on development, not on results, not yet. Why do they play competition? Because competition really helps in the development process. There are several things that they have to be exposed to, which you cannot do in practice. They have to go out there and then they have to play to be exposed to those things. And they have to learn how to deal with those things. Okay? So why they have to play tournaments? One is they also need to compete at a good level. So you need to get enough points to be able to play at a high level tournament. They have to play at the nationals. If they're good enough to play at the nationals, they should play there. And they should have enough points to get into this tournament. So those are the reasons why they need to play tournaments and to compete at the right level, but never take the focus away from development. Okay, the amount of time spent by the kids on the court will increase. Now they have to start spending, at least what do you say, week they'll be spending 18 hours on tennis and fitness, 18 to 24 hours. Again, the psychological aspect at this stage is kind of, if you feel that you have to do things off the court, like putting them into meditation or addressing. At this stage, you'll also see that there are certain issues in their mental aspect that is showing up. There could be some problem with the showing tantrums. There'll be a problem in freezing at important situations. There could be a problem with handling pressure. Once you know what it is, you can deal with it uh, uh, specifically, individually with that player at this stage. And if you feel that you need help, you could, if you do the courses, you'll have enough information. But if you think you need help, you can definitely contact the psychologist. But I would say that the psychologist can wait till the next stage, where you need to, it becomes very specific, and each player needs to be worked on in a very specific way. So you can wait till the next stage. Yeah. So the next stage is the professional stage. Yeah, the girls from 17 to 21, and no, I didn't talk about the advanced stage, 15, 16, and girls 15 and 16, boys 16 and 18. Very crucial stage. And this is a stage where the kids have to start playing a lot of competition, as in more competition than the previous stage. But still, development is the key. But they should be exposed to higher and higher levels. Like how Sania said the other day, at 13, she started playing the futures. Maybe she was lost in the first round, but it was an exposure to her, which is very, very important, which we have done with our players as well. At 15, if the kid is good enough, we push them into the futures so that they get the exposure to that level, and they also understand what they need to work on. There's another big advantage is when they're a junior, they're fearless. They have nothing to lose. They go there and swing their racket, and they'll get some good performances and really boost up their confidence. And they also feel that, coupled with working on their game with this confidence, when they get to that stage of 17, 18, you see that performance shooting up. And tactically, obviously, they have to get aggressive. More power, more aggression. That will be the mantra. Make sure that the biomechanically developing, becoming very efficient, maximizing the way they can generate power. You're going to work on their strength and power at this age, the most crucial age for developing power and strength. And this is what is going to propel them into the next level. Okay. And the hours of training significantly goes up in the stage. They have to play like 5 hours, 6 hours a day. And I would say this stage and the next stage is where, this is the stage where they play the maximum amount of tennis. Okay, because when they get to the professional level, the amount of tennis they play comes down. They are more into competition week after week, and then they have like only a few weeks in between to train. And when they're playing matches, they need to keep themselves fresh and sharp. So the amount of the tennis they play comes down, amount of practice in the professional level. So at this stage, they play a lot of tennis. And also, I want to make one thing understand is that, playing a lot of tennis, that also means working a lot on endurance. Okay, because tennis itself, playing tennis increases your endurance. And you need to have a chat with the trainer and understand what things are working on. And then you have to know how much to load them on the court. If you take away everything from the court and work too much on the endurance, and if the kid goes for training, and if they have to work on speed or if they have to work on strength, where the trainer wants them fresh, and if they are tired, the session won't be effective. The trainer will not be able to push them. And as you know, you need to push and go beyond your comfort zone. You need to hit your limits again and again to be able to cross and go further. Okay, so the next one is the professional level, where the girls 17 to 21 and boys from 19 to 23. Now at this stage, if you've done all the right things and the kid is really motivated, they developed all the skills, they have crossed the the national men's level. They could still be competing at the national men's level and the national women's level, but they should definitely be contributing a lot of time in playing futures or even challenger levels at this age. Yeah. So if they have been exposed to the futures early on, the earlier stage, at this stage it becomes easier for them to to go and focus on performing. You need to do periodization even the earlier, from the intermediate or the advanced level. You have to start doing periodization. In the earlier stages, it could be one periodization per year, but at these stages, it becomes double or triple periodization. Now, if you want to know more about periodization, it's not a complicated thing. It is just planning, just taking certain aspects into account, and then planning the technical, tactical, physical, mental. So don't get bogged down by this word periodization. It's not too complicated. It's actually very simple. It's just charting a course for your journey. That's all. And you need to do fitness testing on a regular basis in every stage, especially from the intermediate level. The fitness has to be specific towards the player's needs, apart from what they need to work on in that stage. Okay? And yeah, as I said, competition will be mainly at the futures level or even at the challenger level. So the mental aspects at this stage, yes, they're taking full responsibility for their career, ability to deal with pressure, which they have been worked on in the earlier stages, and they kind of know what to do. Develop the ability to deal with, handle with injury, develop the ability to deal with losses. And the attention to detail at this stage becomes very, very high. That's the reason why we need a solid team to work with them. So the players have to go and probably hire themselves a physio, dietitian, and things like that, a psychologist maybe, and things like that to help them progress up in their aspirations. Okay, so what I would like to conclude now is that the long-term planning is absolutely essential. Without long-term planning, you cannot achieve anything great. And what do you do in this long term? In each level, there has to be an attention to detail, and people in the entire team should be coming together and working together as a team and putting in the effort to get them, to the elite level. It is not a one-man's job. And like I said, you don't need to work on, you don't need to get a degree in psychology. You can just, you're already working on psychology, psychological aspects in each and every one of your lesson. When you do the courses, the level 1, 2, 3, the 4 courses, the 5, there are so many aspects in psychology that you do in every session. Okay? So you don't have to think that psychology is a completely different subject outside the purview of the coach. Like Hemant was talking yesterday, the coach has to take responsibility for that, and it's not complicated at all. So like Bruce Elliott, sorry, I forgot his name, Bruce Lipton. So he was saying that the belief system, okay, he says that experience shapes perception. Perception reinforces beliefs, and beliefs changes the perception and your experience. So basically what he's saying is your experience and my experience is not the same. When we go through an experience, our conditioning, what we already have, all those belief systems that we have, will contribute to what you perceive from the experience. And that is what you're left with from the experience, your perception. So it is so important that we as coaches need to create a fantastic experience for the kids from the start, all the way in every stage to the elite levels. Either you're taking up responsibility for the beginner stage or the intermediate stage, or you're doing everything together. It is important that we are creating this atmosphere where the experience for the players is very great, and it'll just go into accentuating and developing their skills. So, but what's the most difficult thing to do? All these things you can assimilate, you can get knowledge, you can read and do. The most difficult thing to do is to change your own conditioning, change your own belief system. Now, if you look inside you and then if you identify these belief systems, you'll be really surprised at some point of time. Okay, and then if you want to help the kid, you also have to understand that you should keep your belief system to yourself. You shouldn't influence a kid with your belief system. Okay, and also never stop learning. Try and do the higher level courses, and try and, like Miguel said the other day, the continuous development. professional development of a coach is very important. And if all the coaches can come together and then do their job in their respective centers, you'll see an explosion of players coming by very, very soon. Thank you. Narsingh, you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Suresh. You've done a very good job and given a lot of information for the coaches कि आपको कैसे करना चाहिए और कैसे नहीं करना चाहिए. ये एक समय होता है कि आपने जो इस प्रकार से काफी समझाया, मैं समझता हूँ कि आगे के लिए बहुत अच्छा होगा. और देखना यही है कि इस प्रकार की जो प्रेरणा मिलती है या सीख मिलती है, हम लोग कैसे लेते हैं उसको. Thank you very much once again, Suresh. You've done a very good job.
Thank you, Narsingh. बहुत शुक्रिया.
So before we wind नमस्कार.
बहुत शुक्रिया.
Wind up today. तो कल का जो हमारा प्रोग्राम होगा.
That was the only Hindi in the presentation, Suresh.
Yeah.
Namaskar.
So tomorrow guests will be there. Today definitely yes, Vishnu Mohan and Saket was there. Tomorrow the very known personality and the coaching as well as a Davis Cup player Zishan Ali will be there, and Ashutosh Singh, who was a part of the always in the team of the Davis Cup and all. So they will be definitely there, and you can ask the questions. Just prepare the questions. You are both on the coaching line also. So Suresh, experts, who will be the expert tomorrow as a tutor?
I thought you had that information.
Okay. That is the first aid was there.
The Sports Authority of India.
Sports Authority.
Yeah. They have the presenters in, I think, Chandra Bhushan and Isha.
Yeah, that's right.
Isha Chopra.
Isha Chopra and Chandra Bhushan will be there.
Yeah.
But they'll give the more information of the side and the under 14 players. So be tuned at the same time, 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll hope कि आप अच्छा से समझेंगे उसको कि किस प्रकार इस टूर्नामेंट्स में अंडर 14 में क्या किया जाता है. शायद मैं इससे बात करूंगा कि थोड़ा टूर्नामेंट के बारे में बताएं कि अंडर 14 के लिए कैसे प्रिपरेशन होती है. मनोज, कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं आप? मनोज.
Suresh, do we have time? Yeah. Suresh, regarding there were some questions asked to the panelists basically. Now there are some kids who are performing well to the age of 16. You know, then there is a dearth of finance.
Okay.
So how do you think we can cope up with that? I know it's a weird question, but I think most of the coaches need that answer.
Yeah, that is true. But for example, the MSLT is doing a phenomenal job in helping players. I think that's the federation in India that is doing the most in developing their state players. They're conducting tournaments. They're helping players train. They're creating structures for the players to train in. They're also taking them abroad for different experiences, which is a very good thing. I think even Tamil Nadu Tennis Association is also doing a phenomenal job in helping players. And there are a lot of individuals who are like tennis fanatics. You should be able to identify these people and then get this help. And probably you can contact Manoj because he's good at the sponsorship and like that. Even Narsingh, yeah.
For players in Maharashtra.
Yes.
We basically only cater to players. I know. You have to talk the Indian way, but I think we normally cater to Maharashtra players.
Of course, yeah.
If we have more sponsorship, we'll obviously look after the AIT players. Someone knows outside Maharashtra.
No. Every state is taking care of their kids. That's their responsibility. You don't have to look outside. I'm just saying, if they want information about how to contact.
Yeah, surely. I'll be surely glad to share.
Yeah, on the next webinar, we can have a session on how to go about contacting people in getting help, financial help, like sponsors and things like that. So we could do that in maybe next time when we have a webinar. Okay.
I don't know if anyone else has questions. Are we throwing it open for questions, Suresh?
No, it's
we have
12:05. Manoj, it's 12:05. I think we should wind up.
Okay.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you all.
Manoj.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
और इसके साथ ही मैं और सुरेश के साथ आप लोग से विदा लेना चाहता हूँ और आज का यहीं पे समाप्त होता है. कल फिर 10 बजे मिलेंगे. थैंक यू स्पोर्ट्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया एंड द AITA.
Yes, see you all
Thank you,
tomorrow
everyone.
at 10 a.m. Yeah.
Thank
Bye
you very
bye.
much.
Have a
Bye.
wonderful day. Bye bye.